All right, hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Monica McMahon. I'm the marketing manager here at Optigo, and I'm really excited to show all of you Visual BACnet. We have a quick poll. Those of you who've joined us before, you'll probably be quite used to this. I'd like to get a bit of an idea of who you are, who's on this webinar this morning, just so that I can make sure that our content is as useful as possible to you. So please quickly let us know who you are. If you aren't one of those people, then welcome. We're still happy to have you, but just write in the chat, let us know who you are so I can get a bit of an idea. While you're doing that, just so you know, all of this is being recorded, so this will be available to you or to your colleagues afterwards, so feel free to send that out. And if you have any questions at any time, put them in the chat. I will either look at them as we go, or I will save them to the end, depending on how relevant they are to that actual moment, to try not to derail it too much. So hopefully you've all had a chance to put your answers in. It looks like we've got a lot of controls engineers and a lot of technicians, and that's kind of it. So hopefully that's representative. I'm not sure how many of you managed to get your responses in there, but that's not a problem. So let me make sure that you can see my screen here. Okay, hopefully you can all see my screen. So just for those of you that would like to follow along, if you're new to Visual BACnet, you can open a trial account. If you go to our website, we do have a free 2-week trial. Take advantage of that now, and you'll be able to follow along throughout the demo. It's just visualbacnet.com, and in the top right corner you can click Get It Now. And if you would like to use some of the files that we'll be using throughout this demo, we have this, you can go to visualbacnet.com/pcaps. You can link right through to a Google Drive folder which has the PCAPs that we'll be using in this webinar. It also has some stuff from past webinars in it, so a bunch of different things that you can access there. All right, that's most of the sort of mini stuff before we dive into the nitty-gritty of Visual BACnet. So just an idea of what we're going to cover today. We've done the welcome. I'm going to go through a little bit of why you should use Visual BACnet and what some of the use cases are, and then we'll go over an overview of Visual BACnet. That is where I'll spend the bulk of the time, and then a brief closing, and there will be time for questions at the end. So prepare those. Feel free to send them in during the webinar, and we'll answer them when we get to the end. So just another poll. We'll see if maybe this time more people will respond. Can you please let me know if you've used Visual BACnet before? That's, again, going to help make sure that I am giving you useful information. So how many of you out there have used Visual BACnet before? It's quick. It's yes or no. You should be able to respond fairly quickly. While we're waiting, I'm going to drink my tea. Yes or no, that's all I need from you. All right, we'll call it there. We'll see. Okay, so quite a few people that have. So what I'll do with this is I'll try and spend a little bit of time on some of the more hidden things that you might not be aware of. But for those of you that have never seen Visual BACnet before, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll definitely have lots of new stuff for you. So before I jump into actual Visual BACnet, I'm going to spend most of the time logged into my account and clicking through it. But I just wanted to give you a bit of an idea of the different ways that Visual BACnet is used. So we have a lot of people. At the beginning of the webinar exactly who is on this webinar, because we do have tech support teams from many of the major manufacturers that are using Visual BACnet on a regular basis to help their customers, to help troubleshoot problems. Visual BACnet helps analyze the BACnet network and find problems in it. So we're not looking at energy use, we're not looking at anything other than the actual network layer, and we're analyzing the BACnet protocol to find misconfigurations, to find things that are acting a bit funny. Where does this come in handy? One of the big uses is multi-vendor sites. So if you have a site with tons of different vendors on it, We have some sites out there with over 10, 12, 15 vendors on them. But even if you only have a couple, there's often a lot of finger pointing, managing different people on the site. So it can be a really good way to drill down, find the problem, and then figure out who you need to call to come in and fix it, or prove that it's not your fault and get someone else to come in and fix it. Other uses are, we have technicians who are finding problems on their sites. Sometimes this might show up through the energy analytics going crazy. You're having tons of energy use, but it might actually be a network problem. So we'll have people check the network, use Visual BACnet to make sure it's not a network problem. If their site health is bad or is failing, then they'll dig in and fix the network, and often that will fix other problems that are showing up on the network. So we're really looking at that network layer. So how does Visual BACnet work? There are sort of 4 steps. So you capture a file, capture the traffic that's happening on your network, and there's lots of different ways to do that. Then you upload that file either manually or automatically. Then we show that overview, which I just showed you, but we'll dig into in much more detail. And then finally, you're going to spend time exploring that file, analyzing it, drilling down to figure out exactly what's going on. So just starting with capture, there's quite a few different ways that you can capture. The first one, which I will start with on actually the right-hand side of the screen, is Wireshark. Hopefully most of you are familiar with Wireshark. That's typically what people in the industry use right now. You can put that on your network, have that on any computer, locally download it, and run Wireshark, capture the communications in your network. Then you can go and manually upload that into Visual BACnet. So Visual BACnet will accept any PCAP file, any .cap file from Wireshark. We also have a Windows capture tool. So this is one of the things that we launched this year, one of the many changes and additions that we made to Visual BACnet this year. This Windows capture tool can be installed on any Windows machine, hence the name Windows Capture Tool. And it can be scheduled. So rather than having to sit there and hit start on Wireshark and then go have lunch and come back an hour later, you can schedule this one. You can have it capture every morning and every night or every hour. It's really up to you. But it allows you to get that file on a regular basis, ideally. Or if there's a problem that's happening at 2 a.m., you don't have to stay up till 2 a.m. to hit start on Wireshark. And then it actually can connect right with Visual BACnet and upload that file automatically. And so this has become a huge part of our Visual BACnet monitoring, which I'll go into more detail a little bit later. But that can be used with any of our accounts, and it also saves the file to your computer locally. So even if you don't have an internet connection, it can still be used. So that was the first iteration of our scheduling abilities. Now we have this beautiful little Raspberry Pi. I feel like Vanna White here. And this Raspberry Pi is it's really our attempt to get more information from the network. So what we found is that with our Visual BACnet capture tool, the Windows one, you're able to put it on usually the main server, get the overarching data, you get all of the broadcast information from the network, as well as anything that's unicast to the server. But there's lots of other information that's unicast between 2 devices that doesn't hit the server, and we don't get that. We can't analyze that. So this guy is our MSTP solution. You can put him on either your MSTP or your Ethernet or IP network, but most people right now are using him for MSTP. It's brand new. We're just still in early adopters, so I'm giving you a little bit of a sneak peek. But basically, this Raspberry Pi comes with a USB RS485 dongle. It connects right into that MSTP network and can do all of the same things as this Windows capture tool. So it allows you to schedule captures, and then it automatically can upload them into Visual BACnet. But the great thing is that it can sit on your MSTP network, so we can capture all of that token passing, and you don't have to go and download Steve Karg's capture tool and put it into Wireshark and then physically plug into every MSTP network. You can just throw this on there, capture on a regular basis, and figure out what's going on that network, and hopefully capture on a regular basis and continually monitor it. So that's our latest capture innovation. Of course, you can also, there's also some other solutions similar to Wireshark, such as you can capture from some BMSs. So depending on what vendor or vendors you have, you may be able to capture through the BMS. We are also working with some of those vendors. And there are also other routers out there. So there's a bit of a trend in the industry, which we're really excited about, that lots of vendors are starting to release routers and controllers that have the ability to capture this file, this PCAP file on them. And so we're trying to work with these, and we're starting to work with more and more vendors that are building those to have them upload directly into Visual BACnet. If they don't upload to Visual BACnet, you can still access them and manually upload them. So lots of ways to get information. Definitely something that we at Optigo has focused on this year. We have Visual BACnet to analyze the information, but now we need to get more and better information so that we can help you analyze it. A couple notes about capturing while we're here, because I know that someone's going to ask me this in the chat otherwise, and it's useful information. How long should I capture? What should I capture? So we typically recommend starting by capturing at the server. Like I said, that will get most of the information, and then you can usually figure out kind of where the problems are, and then go and capture on those specific networks. In a perfect world, you'd have one of these little pies on every single MSTP chain, and every piece of your network would be managed or monitored, but the perfect world hasn't happened quite yet. We're still working on that. And we recommend an hour-long capture. If you have a shorter capture, you'll likely miss stuff, but with an hour, you can usually get all of the information you need to get a fairly good idea of how good your network health is. Again, it depends on the site, but we recommend an hour, sometimes 2 hours. If you have more questions about capturing, use the chat, let me know. Okay, so now I'm going to jump right into Visual BACnet. Perfect, it logged me out. This home screen is our beautiful hometown of Vancouver. Again, you can go and get a trial account and follow along if you would like. So here on our home screen, we have all of our files, and we have 3 different things in here. We have these files at the bottom are all PCAP files that have been uploaded that we got either from a BMS or from Wireshark. We have folders. So folders, just like on your computer, can hold files, help you organize things. And then we have sites. And so the sites are really our move towards monitoring. Rather than just troubleshooting and making sure a site is okay, troubleshoot it, make your network really healthy, and then monitor it on a regular basis. I'm going to start by digging into the files, and then I will show you that higher level of sites, which is based off of our files. So I'm going to start by looking at this Optigo Network Sample BACnet Capture 2, if you are following along. If you hit View, it will show you a ton of information. So don't be overwhelmed. The main thing that you should be looking at is right front and center in the middle of the screen. And if it's red, you really can't miss it, which is good because we don't want it to be red. That is our network health right in the middle. 31% is critical in this file. So the network health is our way of distilling all of the information in that file into how good is your network. If you're wondering how that we calculate that 31%, click on it and we'll show you. So we've been very transparent about where that 31% comes from. We have 2 types of checks here. We have our critical checks and we have our scored checks. As the name implied, critical checks are things that really should not be failing in your system. And so we've put these in order of criticality. So if you have any of those failing, start at the top and work your way down. This is a great example in this file because you have 8 unresponsive routers and then you have 90 unresponsive devices. Well, there's really no point trying to fix those devices if the routers are still unresponsive. Fix those routers and likely a lot of those devices will come online. So that's why we've done this order, and hopefully if you fix the first few, a lot of the others will automatically fix themselves. The scored checks at the bottom tend to be a bit more threshold-based, traffic-based. There's too much of different types of traffic. So once you fix those critical checks, then start looking at the scored check to see how you can reduce the amount of traffic on your network, which will improve the performance of the network. You'll notice that these three diagnostic checks are turned off. That's because they're MSTP checks, and so they only are turned on, or they're automatically turned on if it's an MSTP file. Which is why you need our little pie. I'm excited about the pies. You can tell. So a couple things, back to this home screen, a couple things to look at in general in a file before we start analyzing it too deeply. Top right corner here, this is a 20-minute file. Again, if I see someone with a file like this, I will still help analyze it, but my first reaction is always try and get an hour, get more information. However, clearly a lot of stuff is already going wrong, so we can work with that. Related to that is the number of packets. So if you have less than 100 packets, we'll give you a warning saying there's not enough information. We're fairly kind with our network health score. We say you're good unless bad things are happening. So if you don't have that many packets, we don't have enough time, we don't have enough data to find the bad things in your network, then you'll get a good score, and it might be a false good score. So make sure you get quite a bit of data. Down here we have our statistics summary, so the number of networks, the number of devices. Keep in mind with all of this information that this is the data that we got during this file. So if you see that, oh, I should have 2,000 devices, well, that may be based on where this capture was taken from, or it may be based on who was active in this file, especially if it's a short file. We have our graph, the traffic rate graph, a general overview of the traffic in this file. It can be really interesting. This happens to be quite an interesting file. You can see there's a massive spike between 400 and 500 packets per second every minute. So that's something that you would definitely notice right away and want to flag. We also show the non-BACnet traffic here. It's really the only place that we analyze anything other than BACnet. But it can be useful. So in this case, there's one spike, but it's only 30 packets per second compared to these other spikes that are becoming 500 packets per second. It's not a big deal. But sometimes there are some traffic storms on the non-BACnet traffic, and it's a good indicator that maybe you need to be looking elsewhere on the network at other problems, either IT or other protocols. So going back into the diagnostic checks that I talked about a little bit earlier, they're also listed over here on the right-hand side. They're all the exact same checks as are in the network health when you click on it. And you can click on any of them and drill down. So I'm going to choose this duplicate device ID because you should not have duplicate device ID. And there are 6 of them. So if you click into it, you will see here these are the 6 devices that that device ID exists twice in this system, in this network. If you scroll over, you can see, again, whatever information we have about that device. So this is a Mitsubishi device. That's its BACnet address. And we'll show you down here, when you click on it, this device 91130 exists on subnet 1 and subnet 1601. And actually, because I happen to know this file, all 6 of these exist on those 2 networks. So you probably have exact replica networks twice. So now you can go fix that, change that. Your network health is going to improve, and your network is going to be a lot happier. So same thing, you can click on any of these. I started at the duplicate device ID at the top in criticality, move down. You can click through and see these are the 8 unresponsive routers. That's the device network, the source. Drill down. If you are comfortable with Wireshark, or you like Wireshark, we do give you the Wireshark frame information if you drill down far enough, and you can play around with that. Often when we're playing with files and trying to help troubleshoot, we will get to a point where there's a specific device that we can see is acting kind of funny. Maybe it's sending a ton of global whois. In this example, this device is sending 229 global whois in this 20-minute capture. Maybe you want to learn more about a specific device, or you saw this crazy graph and you wanted to learn more about those spikes. So on the left-hand side here, we have 3 graphs. If you click into those, there's a lot of data. Sometimes it takes a little while to load it all and crunch it all. But these graphs basically allow you to visualize that information in a bit more detail. So this graph looks exactly the same as the home page. It has all those spikes. But if you scroll over it, you can see what those packets are. So in this example, these are all IAMs. So that's a good indicator that someone has sent a global whois and everyone is responding in with IAMs. You can also sort this for the number of packets. So I tend to sort by the total packets in this file. And you can see that this device is sending a lot of whois. This is where it really comes back to you and your knowledge of the site. I always recommend, if you have a sitemap and a device list, have those handy when you're using Visual BACnet, because you need to now go and say, okay, this device 0011220312EE is a thermostat or it's a server. Should it be talking this much? It really depends on what that device is. So we leave a little bit of that to you, but you can see through here how chatty it is. You can also, if there's a specific device that you want to see how much it's talking or how much it's being talked to, so maybe you're worried that this device is going on and offline because someone is just hammering it with information, you can find it in here, type it in, find it, and see, okay, this device only receives 3 packets throughout the file. So maybe it's not being hammered. We also have traffic by source graph as well as a traffic by type. So depending on the type of information, those can be useful. And they tend to relate very strongly to the BACnet browser. Now, I won't give too much away, but we do have some big updates to our BACnet browser and our graphs coming within the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for those. But in the meantime, this BACnet browser allows you to do some similar things. You can find a specific source device, destination device, PDU type, or network, and drill down from there. So say there's a network that seems to be acting really funny. Let's look at network 2907. There's a lot of packets. So this is the count of packets that were sent to that network during this file. So on that network, 2907, is all of these devices. And we can sort and see that device 3225306 had the most packets. It had 175 packets during a 20-minute capture. Could be quite a few. They were all unconfirmed requests, and they were a ton of whois. Also a few IAMs probably responding into those global whois, but these whois, and this again comes back to you, should that device be sending all those whois? Potentially not, and then you can drill right into the Wireshark information if that's useful to you. So these tend to come in handy when once you've used the diagnostic checks to figure out which devices are having trouble. You can start drilling more in to learn what that device is doing, what it was being told or saying throughout this file. A few other things. Now, a lot of you are controls engineers, you're technicians, you're technical people, but you still have to report in at some point to someone about how your network is doing. And so one of the ways that you can do that is through our PDFs, our reports. So we have the basic PDF, which really just shows this home screen, this overview network health. I will show that to you here. It's free and it's helpful if you just want to pass off, hey, here's how the network health is, and someone doesn't want to log in. It does tell you a little bit about the diagnostic checks, how many were failed or warnings, as well as the information about the PCAP, so you can make sure that there are enough packets that it's actually worth looking at, and some statistics about the devices and networks found. That's really all that's in the basic report. The advanced PDF has a lot more information, and it also allows you to add your own logo, which I'm going to show you how to do in here. Emily? Maybe I'm not. Maybe we haven't released that yet. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. Well, there is a way to add an advanced report. I will send out later how to, or add a logo to your advanced report. I will send out how to do that later. But you can run the advanced report here. The advanced reports are an add-on to your account, so you do need to pay extra for them. But they detail all of the information in the file. So They list all the diagnostic checks, and they show you what passed, what was a warning, and what was a fail. They look a little bit more professional, and you can replace this logo right here with your own logo. So this part's the same as that basic report, and then we added the graphs, so you have that visualization. Any notes that you put, so if you leave notes in our notes section here, which we've done a lot of funny notes because of our demos, they will show up here in the notes section. You can choose if you'd like them to show up. I should say that. So if you want it to show up, you leave a note here, hit show report, and when you run the report, it will show up. And then here are all those diagnostic checks, as I mentioned. And then for every single diagnostic check, we list all of the offenders, so the information that you would get when you click in and drill down. If you're going to be using this for troubleshooting, I highly recommend using actual visual BACnet. It's much easier to use than looking through a report that is 82 pages in this case. But if you want to do that, go for it. And then it also has a list of all of the devices, so the entire device list is in this file. That device list is also available in our device browser. So if you'd like a list of all of the devices on your network, we know that oftentimes your list of devices gets out of date. People are adding things all the time. You're trying to manage it, but it can be really challenging. So this is a great way to get an idea of what devices are on your network. And again, we tell you all of the information that we have. So for some of these, we don't have the vendor ID. They didn't report in with an IAM, so we can't list it. But when we do have that information, we do our best to tell you. You can also, depending on your account type, export this to a PDF or a CSV. And especially if it's a CSV, you can often cross-reference with your current list. Or if you don't have that list, this can be a really great starting point for creating that list of devices, which we highly recommend you have. I should mention that all of our diagnostic checks, as well as our device browser, have this knowledge base at the top. So they tell you exactly how we get this information. So every once in a while, some of the checks are based on a proxy to get that information, and so we will tell you how we get it, and you can click in for more information. We also have a Optigo help desk. So a support forum, you do need to make an account, but it's free. And if you log in, every single diagnostic check has an article on it. So for example, I was looking at duplicate device IDs. We'll just search duplicate here, duplicate device ID, and this article will give you an overview of what that check is, why it could fail, so all of the different reasons. Often there's many reasons that this could fail, and how you can fix it. So highly recommend that you take a look at that and take advantage of that information. And if you have additional ideas or other reasons that it failed that we might have missed, definitely let us know, because we are always updating our support. BACnet. Once my dashboard loads. You can add custom BACnet ports. So if you're using a UDP port other than 47808 to 47823, we can still analyze that information. However, you will need to add the port in here. So you can say 48,000, add port. Very, very crucial that you add that port before you upload the file. If you add it after you upload the file, then we won't look at it. Oh, look, now I can add my logo. I'm not sure what happened there. The one other thing that I want to show you is this little wrench. If you hit capture settings, you will see here we have the warning and the fail value for all of our diagnostic checks, as well as possible points if it's a scored check, and the decrement that you will get if that check fails, if it's a critical check. You can also turn them on and off, so if there is one that is really irrelevant to you, or you know it's a problem, but it's something that only the manufacturer can fix, then you can turn that check off and hit Save Changes. That will change the score. So you'll see here We went up to 51. But we make sure to show here and in the report that it has been disabled. So if you ever receive a report, take a quick look through and make sure that they haven't just disabled all the diagnostic checks. And if they have, then you have to trust problems with your vendors or whomever is giving you that. You can also leave comments here, and these comments will show up in the report beside the diagnostic checks. Try not to make you sick with this. They will show up here in this column beside all the diagnostics. You cannot change these. I know they look a little bit changeable, but they're not changeable. Okay, so that's most of the information about a file. The next thing that I want to show you is our monitoring. So whether you're using our Pi or our capture tool, we have enabled this ability to monitor a site on a regular basis. So you use our troubleshooting, you put in some files, you make sure that the network is okay, and then you monitor it. So we typically recommend that people capture on a regular basis, whether it's hourly or every 2 hours or a couple times a day. That file will be captured, automatically uploaded, and it trends here. So you can see that this is in our lab. This is our Pi capture tool in our lab. It's uploading every 2 hours, and consistently it's been staying at 84%, which is a little bit sad considering it's only 7 devices. We should probably work on that. But then yesterday at some point it dropped down to 74. And so we have a setting in here. We get an email if our network health drops below 50 or if it drops by more than 10 or changes by more than 10. So if the health goes down by 10 or up by 10, we'll get an email saying, hey, something's changed in your site. We can also ask to get a weekly list of all of these just so we can glance through and make sure that they're okay. And so that's site monitoring. There's a few use cases for it. One example that I'll give you is one of our favorite customers in California who has been using this for about a year now. And the thing that really made it the most useful for them was they had a vendor on site. They had this running for weeks and weeks and weeks. They had about 76, 78%. It was kind of hovering around there. And they had a vendor come in and say, I put a bunch of stuff on the network, do a ton of work, everything looked good, they were all happy, didn't think anything of it, went home, and that night he got an email saying your network health has changed. So he logged into Visual BACnet and his health had dropped to 0. Not ideal. And so he was able to call the vendor in and get them to come in the next day and say, hey, this has changed, you need to fix it. It was still a part of the warranty. And the vendor was able to, they knew exactly what they'd done the day before, it was all still very fresh. And so they could use the information in that file. They had the before file, the after file. They knew exactly what had changed and failed. And they were able to make the changes quickly, fix it that day, and the network health went right back up, and everything was okay again. So that's one of the many use cases. Of course, if you're monitoring your network every day, if you're making changes, if there's lots of vendors on your site, this can be really crucial to keeping things happy and healthy. So that's Visual BACnet monitoring. That's really most of the information that I have about Visual BACnet. I'm sure there's more stuff that as you drill in and start using Visual BACnet that you will find and have questions about. One of the things that I would like to draw your attention to is this chat here. So this is our Optigo help desk. It goes to quite a few of us, and we are always here to help you analyze your files, diagnose what's going on in your system. We know that there's a lot of information in Visual BACnet and that there's not a lot of information about networks. Not a lot of information out there about networks. So we are here to help you through your network problems. Make sure that you can use Visual BACnet in all of its features and benefits to fix your network. So don't be afraid to use the chat. We're typically fairly friendly people. I will send you emojis if I chat with you, so please use that chat. That's really my overview of Visual BACnet. If you have any questions, let me know. Send them in the chat, send them to our email. send them to Ryan or Shane or whomever your Optigo contact is, and we will get back to you. Ooh, I have a question. Would it be possible to add info like how to fix and why it fails on test results so we don't have to manually go to the knowledge base article page and search? Yes, so that's part of one of the next things that we're going to be doing is integrating some of that knowledge base information into, the support forum knowledge base into the diagnostic check knowledge base. We would love one day to be able to say, here are the reasons it can fail, and we know it's this one, but we don't know that much about your networks yet. So yes, thank you for that comment, and we will be adding that in and integrating, and I'm glad that you see that as valuable. Do you have any other questions? All right, well, you can always reach out to us. Please go and open a trial account, give it a whirl, monitor your networks, get them healthy, and we look forward to chatting with you. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, and happy holidays. It's that time of year, I could say that. Thanks, bye.